the second of the Waqf Ramadan series that is organized by the International Institute of Waqf. And tonight we have Dr. Hindri Tanjung, who is a PhD in economics from the International Institute of Islamic Economics. He has studied at the International Islamic University of Islamabad in Pakistan, 2012. He's also the Vice Director of the Postgraduate School, University of Ibn Khaldun in Bogor, which I think is in Indonesia.
Yes, yes.
Yes. And he is also Chairman of the Council of Islamic Finance Educators, the Indonesian chapter, alhamdulillah. Now he's also a commissioner of the Waqf Board Indonesia, which is, I think, was founded a few years ago in Indonesia. So over to you, Brother Henry. We look forward to listening to your inputs and your presentation on the Waqf in Indonesia, particularly about investments and management and so forth.
Okay.
Over to you.
Okay. Okay, thank you, brother.
By the way, you've got 15 minutes.
Okay.
15
okay,
minutes.
thank you. Okay. Brother Zainul Abidin, I cannot use my share screen this time because the system said host disable participant screen sharing.
Okay, so host will enable it for you.
Yeah, please host.
Ask the engineer to enable it for you.
Yeah, please, so that I can share my screen. Okay. Okay. Okay then, good. Fine. Sorry. This is rocket fundraising of cash. Sorry. This is I used the wrong.
Okay.
The wrong file. Okay. Wait a minute, okay? Wait a minute. Okay. Now please host. Now I use my screen now.
Yeah, you may use. You may share the screen.
Okay. Okay. Clear? You can see?
Yes.
Okay. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah to all friends in whole world, in whole global. Now I want to talk about the Waqf in Indonesia, opportunities and challenges. Because this is 15 minutes and I have around 15 slides. So one slide, 1 minute, okay? Indonesia is a maritime country consisting of thousands of islands. The cluster of islands stretch from Sabang to Merauke. This is the name of the islands. Indonesia's vision in 2045 is to become the golden of Indonesia. We call it Indonesia Emas. Golden of Indonesia means no poverty, low economic disparity, and full employment level. Indonesia is the largest Muslim country in the world, has a population about 267 million, which 87% are Muslim. The population is divided into more than 300 ethnic groups, or precisely 1,340 ethnic groups, with the largest being the Javanese. While viewed from its geographical characteristics, Indonesia is an archipelagic country consisting of more than 13,000 islands, with a total area of 7.81 million kilometers square, consisting of 2.01 million kilometers square of land, and the rest is ocean. So Indonesia, more ocean than land. How about the role of Waqf? Indonesia Waqf Board considers that the role of Waqf in sustaining the history of Indonesian economy is very high, especially in the social world, such as education and other worship activities. In the future, through the development of endowments, institutional and literacy products, the role of Waqf is expected to be one of the pillars of the nation's economy towards the golden Indonesia. Waqf regulation in Indonesia in the Dutch colonial period, when the Dutch occupy Indonesia, there was a Waqf law in the form of circular of the government secretary. And when we have independence, during the time of President Sukarno as the first president of Indonesia, the Ministry of Religion of the Republic of Indonesia on December 22, 1953 issued instructions on Waqf, which later became the authority of Part D, social worship in the Religious Affairs Office. And the final Waqf law is the law number of Act number 41, 2004, concerning of Waqf and Government Regulation number 42 of 2006, promulgated on 15 December 2006. And also the fatwa of the Indonesian Ulama Council concerning the Kas Waqf. The trend of Waqf in Indonesia shifting from social Waqf to productive Waqf. Endowments also became to develop into social Waqf and productive Waqf. The social Waqf means that the benefits of the Waqf assets developed are used for social purposes. Meanwhile, in productive Waqf, Waqf assets developed are productive assets to produce goods and services, where the profits from these activities, are then handed over to beneficiaries or makufale. Waqf land in Indonesia, at present, Indonesian Waqf Board record no less than 4 billion meters square of Waqf land in Indonesia, or around 5 times of Singapore. So if we compare to the Singapore, the area of the Waqf land in Indonesia around 4 times of Singapore. The land is divided into more than 430,000 land parcels. So this is small pieces of land, and about 60% have been issued certificates of Waqf. For the Waqf land, which has not been certified as Waqf, it is endeavored to be certified gradually. For this reason, cooperation with the state land agency is needed to accelerate it. Alhamdulillah, we have cooperated with the state land agency. Waqf assets. The number of Waqf assets in 10% in strategic locations in urban areas, and the rest 90% in the rural areas, meaning that if there is sufficient investment, it is not impossible that Waqf land can be developed into productive assets in form of the property. Currently, the utilization of Waqf assets is around 70% for masjid or for mosque, 5% for makam, for graveyard, and 30% for educational facilities. Unfortunately, the investment needed to develop Waqf assets to be used as productive assets is still very little. As of March 2018, Indonesian Waqf Board recorded only 199 billion rupiah of Waqf assets in the form of cash Waqf collected by the Nazir, by all Nazirs. Nazirs in Indonesia, we have now 201 Nazir cash Waqf institutions that have been granted permission by Indonesian Waqf Board. The majority of these cash Waqf institutions are Islamic cooperative or Baitul Mal wa Tamwil. Nazir other than Sharia cooperative or Baitul Mal wa Tamwil generally come from zakat institutions that develop their organizations with program patterns that are social in nature. Until now, Nazir who truly has a background in productive asset management is also limited. We have now around 19 of the Islamic financial institutions or Islamic bank managing cash Waqf. Okay, you can see in the share in the screen, and variety of Waqf products. The National Waqf Board is currently promoting the development of productive Waqf assets such as property, cash Waqf, investment, and stock Waqf or Waqf of stock. Likewise, with its duration, Waqf instruments are also developed in temporary Waqf forms. So Indonesia recognized the temporary Waqf, such as sukuk. As it is known, that in the IMF meeting in Denpasar, Bali, October 2018, Indonesia Waqf Board, together with the Ministry of Finance, issued cash waqf link sukuk, or we call it CWLS. This is about the Awqaf institutions, most of them part-time, and only around 16%, 16% full-time. Type of Nazir, individual, around 66%. So many Nazir individual in Indonesia, we cannot upgrade their ability because most of them are old person. And organization and legal, the rest one. And how to strengthening the Nazirs? To increase the level of professional Nazir, Indonesian Waqf Board together with Bank Indonesia and international partners have prepared a guideline for managing risk-based Waqf assets called the Waqf Core Principles. And also some other countries joined this project. For example, like Mr. Senaid from Bosnia, Mr. Zendul Abidin Chazif from South Africa, and other friends. Hopefully, this document can be one of the reference guidelines not only for national Nazirs, but also internationally in maintaining the value of the benefits of assets on an ongoing basis. In addition, the Indonesian Waqf Board, together with Indonesian Institute of Accountants, is also preparing a Waqf accounting standard. We call it PSAK number 112 to improve standards, transparency, and accountability of Waqf assets management by the Nazir. This is about the income pyramid of Indonesia. You can see the opportunities of the Waqf, cash Waqf, for example. If we can collect from the middle class people up to upper middle class and affluent people, so it is around 95 million people, or 18 million family. Okay, so this is a huge number if you want to collect the cash Waqf based on the data on income pyramid in Indonesia 2020. And now we go to the opportunities and challenges. I just described about 6 perspectives. The first, in the economy, opportunity is very large, seen from the potential Waqf of money, which is 70 to 80 trillion per year, rupiah. But challenges how to educate the public to be able to do cash Waqf. This is also not easy. In the perspective of regulation, opportunities, there is already a Waqf law and also a government regulation. But the challenges is amendments to this Waqf law are needed, still needed, because 16 years ago, the law has been launched and so many changes has been done in the field of Waqf. So given some urgent matters. In the perspective of technology, opportunities, Industrial Revolution 4.0 can develop Waqf fintech or financial technology. For fundraising, we can get the benefit too much. But the challenges is there must be good regulation immediately about this financial technology. In the perspective of social opportunities, the community began to recognize Waqf in various Islamic study forums and scientific forums. Indonesian people also have a high social tense. But the challenges is how to advocate the community to give Waqf. Environment also, alhamdulillah, Indonesia has communities that have religious environment. The challenges, it takes effort to unite the Ummah. And last one, the politics. There is already a National Sharia Finance Committee. We call it KNKS, which is led directly by the President of Indonesia, tasked with developing Islamic economics and finance in Indonesia, including Waqf. But the challenges is political will is needed from the government to develop Waqf in Indonesia. I think the conclusion is Waqf can be an important instrument in the socio-economic development of the Ummah and society if it is properly mobilized and managed. Among the opportunities and challenges of Waqf development in Indonesia are economy, regulation, technology, social, environment, and politics. This summarized from the chapter 15 of the new book launched by Cambridge Institute of Islamic Finance 2020 with the title Waqf Development Indonesia with the author, me and two other friends from Indonesian Waqf Board. I think that's my presentation. Thank you, Mr. Zainul Abidin. Hello?
Jazakallah khairan. Thank you very much, Dr. Hindri. This was a very informative presentation. I think you've covered very much in detail the background of Indonesia, the colonialist era, and also the vast amount of resources that Indonesia has in terms of Waqf land, 4 billion hectares you mentioned. But the unfortunate part is that there's very little in productive assets, and also there's in terms of all the challenges that you've highlighted, we do see that there is a lot of potential in Indonesia, a lot of untapped potential, and we hope that from the participants in this chat group, in this webinar, we'd be able to explore more from you. So I'm going to hand over to Dr. Sami Salahat now, and he is going to be one of our panelists for this evening, and he will be able to pose some questions to you, and then we will take it to others who may want to also ask questions. Engineer Muaz Hashim, I see he's also on the panel there. Dr. Sami, we can't see you here. If you can switch on your camera and also unmute your microphone. Dr. Sami, shall we start with him? I think he's disappeared for a while. Dr. Sami, are you there? Or shall we start with you, Brother Muaz?
There is some question on the chat. Could you please see it?
Okay, well, there is a question. Let me just see if I can find that. Okay, so the one question is there an inventory of Awqaf until 2020? I think you have mentioned some of it. What is the amount of real estate Waqf and cash Waqf? And then what is the amount of its yield? Have you got any answer for that one?
Yeah, actually, we don't have data about that one because the data in the pocket of the Nazirs, and actually we ask report from the Nazir every year, but unfortunately, not all Nazirs send the report. So I cannot report. I cannot answer this question.
Yeah, just as a matter of interest, I think just for the benefit of all those that are part of this chat group, Brother Henry keeps mentioning the word Nazir. Okay, so we often use the word mutawalli also as a synonym for Nazir, who are basically custodians or trustees of the relevant Waqf. So just for the benefit of everyone out there. Okay, so the other question is, can you explain more about Sukuk Waqf? Is it private or public entities? Service, industrial or agricultural sector? Non-profit Sukuk or profitable ones?
Yeah, okay. Indonesia has launched the new product of Waqf, cash Waqf in Sukuk. So if you make a detail about this terminology, cash Waqf means you give money, and from the money we buy Sukuk issued by the government, and then after 5 years, your money will be back to you as is it. So if you pay Sukuk 10 million, so after 5 years, your money will be back 10 million. And every year you get yield. Every year you get yield from the Sukuk, and we use it as Waqf. For what? For health sector. for hospital, especially in this pandemic. We use it for handle the COVID-19. So this is the practice of the cash waqf link sukuk. So this is cash waqf, but linked with the sukuk. So this is like a temporary waqf for the cash waqf, for the money. I think this is the a brief about the cash waqf link sukuk.
Okay, somebody has asked if we will be able to send the slides. I think that will be possible. So when the presentation is over, perhaps in a day or two, then the slides will be made available. So, yeah. Brother Hindri,
yeah,
could you perhaps tell us if there's some amazing story about waqf in Indonesia, somebody who has made some significant waqf or something that is really, you know, a story worth telling to our audience out there?
Yeah, the story of waqf in Indonesia starts in the 13th century. 13th century when the Islam came to Indonesia from the Aceh, we call it Samudra Pasai, and the Sahih Malik rule about this area in Aceh, and from that time until now, the history of waqf Indonesia is Alhamdulillah developed so much. And one of the Islamic organization who handle the waqf very good is Muhammadiyah. So with this Muhammadiyah organizations, more than thousands of the school and universities, and more than 300 of hospitals based on waqf fund. I think this is the beauty of the Indonesia, because we don't occupy all the waqf entities or waqf property in the hand of the government. So we let the people to be nazir, to be mutawalli, and government only make a regulation or supervise them with the good management, with the good disbursement, etc. If there is a problem, and then we intervene, we can change the nazir with the authority of the Indonesian Waqf Board. We can change the nazir. So I think this is the beauty of the waqf system in Indonesia.
Okay, just following on that question, is there any particular person or family that you know of that has made a significant waqf in Indonesia? And
yeah,
I know. And what type of waqf have they made?
Yeah, I know. There is one family, husband and wife. They make a waqf of the hospital. So they have one hospital, and they make give this as a waqf to the foundation. We call it Dompet Duafa Foundation, and this is very good example of the waqf, because the valuation of the waqf is around 11 billion rupiah. So this is a big waqf for one family.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned something about the productive waqf.
Yeah.
Could you elaborate on some of the productive waqf? I see Dr. Sami Salahat is also back now. So if you can answer that question, and then over to Dr. Sami Salahat.
Yes.
Welcome.
Okay.
Ahlan.
Yes. How are you, Doctor?
Alhamdulillah, fine, Dr. Sami. Okay, in terms of productive waqf, we have variety of waqf productive. For example, we just built an apartment based on waqf system, and we have utilized the waqf fund to run a business on the bus rental to the people, and also some factory. So Alhamdulillah, the variety of waqf productive we have established in Indonesia.
Before I go to Dr. Sami Salahat, I've got one question. There's a South African family that has a land in Lombok, Lombok Island.
Yeah. I know.
And so basically, they want to know whether it is possible to have it registered as a waqf in Indonesia, for a foreign person to have land in Indonesia and make it waqf.
Yeah. The regulation also restrict foreigner as a nazir, not as a waqif. As a waqif is okay, but as a nazir, no.
Okay, shukran. Over to Dr. Sami Salahat. Jazakallah khairan. Dr. Sami Salahat is one of our panelists. He's also the founder of the International Institute of Islamic Waqf, and has been very active in the training area of the whole Waqf sector, and he's been very, very long in the whole Waqf training arena. Jazakallah khairan. Thank you and welcome, Dr. Sami. Over to you. Dr. Sami, have you disappeared again? Wa alaikum salam. But please switch on your camera.
Yes, I'm sorry, the line not very well, but however, Brother Zainul, if you allow me to ask.
Good, please go ahead. Please go ahead.
Yes, how are you, Dr. Hindri? Actually, I'm happy to see you again. I have a question about the experience in your country. Yeah. I would like to ask you about the public awqaf and the private awqaf. The amount which awqaf under government and other one under the private. I want to ask which different two sectors in Indonesia about the awqaf and the private awqaf. How come you as the government deal with this? And I need to know about the amount of public awqaf and the amount of, especially in the real and the cash waqf. Which one is active?
Yeah, okay. Which one is active? People or private is very active. Actually, our law or our
I'm asking.
Yeah. Hello?
Carry on.
Yes, I'm listening.
Okay. Yeah. Actually, according to Indonesian law in the Act 41, so Indonesian Waqf Board has authority to strengthen the nazir, not to intervene the waqf properties from the nazir and occupied by the Indonesian Waqf Board. No. So since that law, Indonesian Waqf Board did not handle the waqf property directly. So still the waqf property in the hand of the nazir, in the sense of they are private nazir. So all the property of the awqaf in the hand of the private nazir, not in the hand of the government. We don't we don't manage the waqf property directly. We manage the nazir, not the waqf property.
But do you have estimated public awqaf and the private awqaf? You don't have numbers, yani finger of number can show me, for example, as I heard you in Malaysia last time in the conference, you said the awqaf amount maybe more than Singapore, maybe times 50.
Yeah, this is about the land. Okay, the area of the land in the term of waqf 5 times of Singapore. Yes, you are right. But as I mentioned in my slide, only 10% in the strategic location. It means in the urban area, and the rest 90% in the rural area. So the price also is different in the urban and in the rural area. So until now, we still not count the money of this waqf lands until now, because there is no use of that one in Indonesia.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. We also have Dr. Hisham Dafterdar. He's based in Bahrain. He's also a well-renowned scholar, and I think in the previous English seminar or webinar, we heard him also. And over to you, Dr. Hisham. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Yes, I'd like to thank Dr. Hindri for this presentation. I want to ask him, you know, we know that Indonesia probably has more land waqf than any other country, and
yes, you are right.
We've always heard that, you know, that these awqaf, if they are put side by side, they would be larger than, you know, the Republic of Singapore in its entirety. Now, I want to know in what condition are all these awqaf, and what development program does Badan Waqf Indonesia have for these awqaf? And is the budget allocated to Badan Waqf adequate for you know, doing the development, or is there a funding program from the government for developing these awqaf?
Okay. Okay. Thank you, yes. Mr. Hisham. Yes. Let me inform you that the Indonesian Waqf Board is the independent body. Okay, this is not minister, this is not the other institution, this is independent body that appointed by the President of Indonesia. Okay, so all the member of Indonesian Waqf Board given, we call it SK, we call it decision, we call it appointing by the President of Indonesia to be a member of Indonesian Waqf Board. And the funding to manage this Indonesian Waqf Board coming from the state, okay, coming from the government. So every year we have a meeting with the parliament in the parliament office to discuss about the budget of the Indonesian Waqf Board for the next year. And every year like that, okay? But when you ask me, is it adequate to develop Waqf? My answer is not. Because this is too small compared to the other institution or to other ministry. With the huge land like this, so this is very tough. This is very tough job. This is very difficult job with a restriction budget to develop Waqf. So what we do with this limitation? So we have cooperation with the all Nazirs, all private Nazirs, to handle some program. For example, okay, in the marketing of the cash waffling sukuk, we call big Nazirs, some big Nazirs, to sell this waffling sukuk product. Okay, so we are not the only one to sell this product. We call some big Nazirs to marketing these products, cash waffling sukuk. And how about the results? The results, and then we make like musyarakah or like mudharabah. 10% according to the law of Indonesia, 10% of the result of Waqf can be got by the Nazir. Okay, so from the 10%, we divided maybe 7% for Indonesian Waqf Board and 3% for the private Nazirs. So this is like as usual cooperation between two parties. So okay, that is the for the first question. And for other questions, when you ask me with so many lands, Waqf in Indonesia, how to utilize? The problem is, as I show you in the screen, okay, 66% of the Nazir in Indonesia is individual. individual, only 1%. Sorry, only one person. I mean, for example, I am the Nazir and I got so many waqf lands. So when I die, so the land of waqf managed by my son, for example. So this is very difficult to strengthening the Nazir with this type. Although we have two other types of the Nazir. For example, organization like Muhammadiyah, I told you, has thousands of schools and universities and hundreds of hospitals. They are very good in management of the waqf asset. But for this individual, this is a big problem for us. And the other type of the Nazir is foundation of or legal entity. This is also very good. They manage the waqf professional, because some of the Nazir or some of the Mutawalli coming from the bankers. Okay, they have professional as the bankers before, and then they resign from the bankers and they came to the waqf system and they become a Nazir. So for these two types, organizations, and the second one is foundation or legal entity, they are very good in managing waqf. But for the 66% from the big rest one, this is a problem. So we need so many changes in the regulation to develop the waqf land in Indonesia.
Okay, just maybe if I can just have a follow-up on that one. You mentioned that there are several banks in Indonesia that are taking cash waqf.
Yes, you are right.
So what are they actually doing with that?
Yeah, we call it Lembaga Keuangan Syariah Pengelola Wakaf Waqf. So they are managing only cash waqf. For example, I want to pay cash waqf, so I come to the bank and I fill for 1 million. This is like ikrar. Okay, the form. I fill the form for 1 million, and then they handed over to me the certificate of 1 million cash waqf, and then they will keep this money, and after some times they will forward this money to the Nazir. So the banks do not manage this waqf money. So banks only functions only as a collecting money for cash waqf, and then they hand it over to the Nazir.
Oh, so are they collecting it on behalf of the Nazir, on behalf of specific waqfs?
You are right. Yes.
Okay. Okay, Dr. Hisham, Dr. Sami, any other questions, or shall we open it up?
I have just a small follow-up. You know, you remember Brother Zainal, over the last 2 years, just about, Bank Indonesia has taken the initiative to establish this Awqaf core principles.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Laid out, the corporate governance issues and about the corporate Nazir and so on. I want to know, to what extent has these principles been applied, or was it just an exercise and put on the shelf, or what happened? And Badan Waqaf was involved in it.
Yeah. You are right. Okay, so this Waqf core principles launched 2018 in Bali in October, and in 2019, last year, we try to implement this principle to the Nazir. Okay, what we have done, we take a survey for the Nazir. We took around 40 Nazirs, and we have a questionnaire, and we asked them about the implementation of this core principle to the Nazirs. And the results, maybe you can predict, okay? The result is the implementation of this Waqf principle in the Nazir is not good. I cannot say bad, but it's not good. Okay, so from this survey, Indonesian Wakaf Board and Bank of Indonesia try to manage to make the technical notes, TN technical notes of the of the WCP Wakaf Core Principle, yes, and Brother Zainul also there last year, okay, when we have Sharia events, and also Brother Sanet also there. So now we are in the process of making the technical notes, because for the Nazir, they do not need such a complete principle, okay? And also with the 3 types of Nazir in Indonesia, for individual Nazir, they do not need risk management in the so sophisticated system, no. They just keep the Waqf land with the trustee, and then when he die, and he will ask his sons to manage this Awqaf land also. So this is the process. This is the development of the Waqf core principle now. And on the 30th, the day after tomorrow, we will meet again in online, because actually the place in Lombok, but because of this pandemic, so we use it online. Meeting again how to build the technical notes. So we continue.
I think, Dr. Hisham is on that
Yes.
group as well. I saw him acknowledging today that he will be joining it. So okay.
Yeah. I saw his name also in the list.
Thank you.
Yes.
But just as a comment on that, I think it is going to take a while before people start absorbing those Waqf core principles, because now it's being done in a very formal way. It is at a very high level as well.
Yes.
And to actually get it down to lay people and all that is going to be difficult. But I think especially for institutions and larger foundations, I don't know what attempt has been made, but maybe in the chat group we can pose that question there on the 30th, inshallah. Okay, shall we open it up to other members of the chat group? There are about 38 other people in this group. If you would like to pose a question, then what I would like to suggest to you that you switch on your camera and you proceed with your question. Is there anybody that would like to ask any questions?
I think we have 2 brothers, Dr. from Pakistan, Dr. Ayaz, yes.
Dr. Ayaz, you can come in if you like.
Yes.
You asking a question there? Dr. Ayaz is asking a question, how do you utilize agricultural land? Ayaz Mahmood, okay, you can switch on your camera and you can be unmuted, please. Muaz, yeah.
Are you hearing me?
You can hear you, but switch on your camera, please, so we can see you. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. It's a good presentation by Dr. Hindri. I just want to ask him, how do you utilize your agricultural land? We have bulk of land in our country, and we give it to farmers by auction, and they cultivate it. So what is your process of utilizing agricultural land in your Waqf in your country? Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Brother Ayaz Mahmood. Utilizing the agricultural Waqf, actually in Indonesia, very little of the Waqf that has been gone to the agriculture, because most of the Waqf land utilized for the masjid, for the maqam, for the graveyard, and for the madrasah. So very little utilize it for the agriculture. But I know some Nazirs use it as to cultivate rice. Okay, so they buy land from the waqf, from the cash waqf. They buy land, agriculture land, and then they utilize it for the cultivating the rice field. Okay, so who will the farmer, for example, and they will offer to the people who become the farmer, who can cultivate the land, and then with the basis of the muzara'ah akad. So this is what we practice in Indonesia about the waqf land for agriculture.
Thank you.
I think that's all, Mr. Ayas.
Okay. There is another question here about your Vision 2045. Will the Indonesian Authority focus on real estate waqf lands or cash waqf? And then the other question was, is there a special law for family waqf, or they control their waqf by themselves?
Yeah, actually, we do not focus on one side of waqf and we forget the other side of waqf. For example, like Mr. Zainul Abidin told just now that are Indonesia focused on the cash waqf or focus on the property waqf? No, we develop these two systems together because we have so many sources, so many potential for these two kinds of types of waqf. And then I think with the 10 years, 15 years, with the improvement of the regulation, with the strengthening the competency of the Nazir, with the waqf core principles, I think we can get so many development in this waqf system. And the other question, what is, Mr. Zainul?
The other question was, let me just see, about the 2045 vision.
Yes, yes.
What is
the yeah? This is the golden of Indonesia, 100 years of Indonesian independence. So our government has made a vision for 2045. Indonesia, the golden of Indonesia, means no poverty, low income disparity, and full employment level. So I think all the ministers, all the institutions, including Awqaf system, Awqaf Indonesia, try to go to this vision. Okay, how to reach this vision? For example, in low income disparity, for example, with the waqf, we will reach this, inshallah, because in waqf, we know the people, the rich people, we give the nation as a waqf, and we will build this project from this waqf, and then the project will be go through to the mawquf alayh, the result of this waqf. So I think this is the very good instrument to make the low income disparity in the country.
So you've got about 25 years to do that. And I think that your experience and your knowledge and your vision.
Brother Zainul, you know vision of every country. Don't ask, can you reach that? Don't ask that.
Because
this is the direction that we have, that we want to go through.
Yes,
okay?
so absolutely. So as Islamic economists, we need to get the formulas for reducing this poverty. We have to flatten the poverty curve, like we want to flatten the COVID virus curve. So we want to flatten the poverty curve in South Africa as well, and many other parts of the world.
Yes, I think that is our project together. So in this member of the group, I think we together will make some efforts in our country how to reach that. I think this is a good idea.
Okay, inshallah. Brother Ayaz Mahmoud, you want to come in again? Dr. Sami, you want to come in?
I think Dr. Mustafa, he wants to ask, I think, Dr. Mustafa Bassam.
Okay. Dr. Mustafa?
Mustafa Bassam.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
How are you, Dr. Hindri?
Alhamdulillah, brother Mustafa.
Nice to meet you, Yahi.
Yes.
Yeah, actually, some of my questions I already wrote it in the chat, and you already answered. But just about the family waqf, I want to ask: is there a special law in for family waqf, or they control themselves for their waqf?
Yeah. In Indonesia, there is no special law for family waqf. They control themselves about this one.
So is there a culture, do you have an effort for spreading this culture for families to make their own waqf, or you only say enough to make it by the government?
No, actually, we in Indonesian Waqaf Board try to convince people to pay waqaf to the good nazir. And we offer them some of the list good nazirs. So please, if you want to make a waqf, please choose these nazirs. We have a license of these nazirs. 201 nazirs now in Indonesia that we have license for the collecting the waqf system, the waqf fund.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I think Indonesia has got a very decentralized system of waqf compared to many other Muslim countries. So yeah, that's one of the highlights of the Indonesian waqf system, actually. Like in many, I think similar to many Muslim minority countries, I think Indonesia is probably the only, perhaps the only Muslim majority country that the Awqaf is not government controlled. Where it's actually controlled by civil society, which is what was the practice during the early period of Islam, until governments started taking over. Anyway, yes.
Brother Zainul, as I mentioned you before in my slides, Indonesia consists of 300 ethnics. Can you imagine? 300 language. With 300 cultures. So in every places, in every town, in every city, you observe the different practice of the waqf.
Okay.
But we, as an authority of waqf, just make a big picture of the regulation. We don't want to intervene in a very detail of the rule, no.
But in terms of marketing, in terms of advocacy, in terms of creating awareness and education about waqf, what is the BWI, Badan Waqf Indonesia, doing about that?
Yeah, we have a program massively. For example, there is a program Waqf Goes to Campus. So we educate people in the campus, in the university, to have a literature of waqf, and also waqf goes to school, and then so many forums, so many seminars with the cooperation with the other universities and other nazirs. So we try to utilize all resources to make literature and education about this waqf.
There's a question from Brother Muhammad Abbasi. He wants to ask, what are the main standards to rank Nazir and is it disclosed? I don't know what he actually means by that, but...
I mean, I think this is the ranking of the Nazir, who is the best Nazir.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Ranking of the Nazir. Okay, so far we do not make a ranking of the Nazir. We just ask them to hand it over the report, the financial report every year, and from that report we can prolong about the certification, about the license after 5 years, because the license only for 5 years, and after due date we can prolong or we can terminate the license in some cases. I think, but now with the idea of Waqf core principle, I think it is a very good idea to make the rank based on the Waqf core principle.
Okay, we've got about 4 or 5 minutes still to go. So, Dr. Sami, would you like to come in here, or are there any other questions?
No, I would like to thank you, Mr. Dr. Hindri. Nice to meet you, and thank you for your nice presentation. And the chairman, Mr. Brother Zainul, I am listening.
Oh, okay, okay. All right. So yes, maybe
you are the chairman.
Maybe in terms of governance. And maybe the issue that I wanted to ask you was about taxation.
I think somebody asked.
Yeah, just the question on taxation.
Someone asked, yes.
Is there somebody that would like to ask a question there? Would you want to come on screen? Okay, while we're waiting, can we ask if
someone.
Spending policy. What is the spending policy being followed by Waqf? Accounting profit or other methods?
Spending policy. As I mentioned before, that we have a standard of accountancy. We call it standard number 112 or 112. This is special for Awqaf report for the transparency to the public. And about the profit, we have a regulation. Only 10% of the profit can be handed over to the Nazir, and the rest 90% for the reinvestment and for the Maquf Alayh. So the formula is like this: 10, 50, and 40. 10% for the Nazir, 50% for the reinvestment. 50% for the Maquf Alayh, and 40% for the reinvestment, because the profit of the Awqaf, the profit of the Nazir, should be more than 50% given to the Maquf Alayh.
So the 40%,
at least 50%.
So 40% has to be retained and be reinvested.
Yeah, yeah.
40%.
Yeah, like in the company return earning.
Okay.
Yes.
So the 10%, is that the maximum by law that the Nazir can take?
Yeah, by law. And yeah, honestly, I told you that many Nazirs has objection about this 10%. Because they said it's too small. In South Africa, 25%. Is it right, Brother Zainul?
No, ours is limited to 12.5%, but it's our own regulation of 12.5%. It's not imposed by anyone. It's self-imposed, actually.
12.5% from the collected of Waqf money, or from profit?
Only from income. Only from income.
From income, eh?
Yes.
Okay.
This 10%, 50%, and 40%, is that from income or from the capital?
From the income.
From new money that comes in, or from
the income.
Income generated from the profit.
From the profit, yes. Not from the money you come in, no. Because Awqaf habasta aslaha. We should hold the capital. We develop the capital, and the results should be offered to the Maquf Alayh. So habasta aslaha. So we manage this Waqf to the productive assets, and then the profit we go through to the Maquf Alayh.
Okay.
Brother, I think from the in the Arabic countries, I think from 50 to 15% for Mutawalli or Nazir.
Sorry, how much?
From 7% to 15% in this area for Nazir or for Mutawalli. Yeah, mostly in Arabic country, from 7 to 15. Yeah, Mutawalli.
From the income or from the money comes in?
From income.
From income, okay.
And how much reinvestment, Dr. Sami?
Yes.
How much reinvestment?
Sorry?
How much for reinvestment?
Depends. I think we don't have fixed percentage. Some of them 20, 30, some of the depends to the board.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
For the majlis, yes, flexible, yes.
Okay. All right. I think we've come to the end of this program. It's already 11 o'clock. First of all, I'd like to thank Dr. Henry and all the participants, Dr. Sami Salahat, Mustafa, all the engineers behind the scenes that have been working, and maybe just an announcement also that the next session in English will be on Wednesday, and this one will be, I think, Dr. Sami, if you would like to just say what is the next program going to be on Wednesday, if there's anything that has been confirmed.
Inshallah, tomorrow. Yes. Inshallah, tomorrow I'm going to talk about about Awqaf in Algeria in Arabic language. Wednesday in Malaysia, inshallah, we'll talk about Awqaf in Malaysia.
Okay. So at least for the next 2 nights.
Tomorrow Algeria, Wednesday Malaysia.
Okay. Jazakallahu khairan, barakallahu fiqh. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdi. Sami, if you would just like to close off with a dua.
No, you are the chairman. I am just I am hearing to you here.
Okay. Wa akhiru da'wa anil hamdulillah rabbil alamin. Jazakallah khairan. Assalamu
Thank you, brother.
Thank you.
Thank you for all panelists, for all participants.
Normally whenever we have meetings, we close off with Surah Al-Asr. So I'm going to do that. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. جزاك الله خيرا بارك الله فيك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. See you again on another day.
جزاكم الله خير.
Another night.
جزاكم الله خيرا. السلام عليكم.
وعليكم السلام.
Thank you.